Hey, good morning. My name's Mike Muley. I'm down here at the Seafood Industrial Park in Winch at Blue Water Yachts with our 42-foot research vessel, Miss Caroline. And she's been hauled out for her annual maintenance. She'll be good to go in a couple of days and we'll be back offshore. The Miss Caroline is a really special vessel for the Coastal Studies Institute. She's actually a big research vessel in a small package, and that's necessary because you can't really get in and out of Oregon Inlet with an 85-foot boat. So we have a 42-foot boat that can do what many 85-foot research vessels can do. It's got 2 through-hull acoustic Doppler current profilers. She also records the water temperature and salinity of the surface water wherever we are, whenever we're running, so we can see some of the gradients from the sound all the way out to the Gulf Stream. And she's capable of deploying instruments up to about 2,000 pounds, so we deploy and recover lots of pods that measure currents and salinity and temperature and chlorophyll over several years. So here we are on the top deck of the Miss Caroline, and what we're looking at here, this pressure cooker thing, is what houses our 75 kilohertz acoustic Doppler current profiler. So we can see the transducer from the bottom, and when we're measuring currents, we take this stand out, and this lowers down flush with the deck. And when we're running, it actually is a tube that protrudes out through the bottom of the hull so that bubbles coming down the hull don't get around the transducer. And this thing can measure currents with about 16-meter resolution down to a depth of about 600 meters. We also have this back deck station so that whenever we're deploying and recovering instruments, we can run the boat and the hydraulics of the A-frame and the tugger winch up here with the controls on the back deck so that I can see what's going on when we're deploying instruments and recovering them. The Duffy has a valuable set of hydraulic winches that we use for deploying and recovering instruments. Right here we have the deck winch. This line runs through our A-frame. We use this winch primarily for deploying and recovering moorings that are on the bottom, making all kinds of different measurements. And we also have this boom above my head here with a puller winch. And we use this puller or tugger winch for moving heavy things around deck that we're going to deploy. And we also attach it to these acoustic Doppler current profiler housings and lower them down and lift them up with this winch. So here we are on the port side of the Miss Caroline, and this thing doesn't look like much, but this is a flow-through thermosalinograph, and what it allows us to do is measure temperature and salinity on the surface of the water wherever we're driving the boat. And that's really important here in Cape Hatteras because Cape Hatteras is a really special place where there's a large confluence of all these different water masses and fronts, just like you see on a weather map. So we can measure those while we're driving, and it'll actually give us information that we can say, hey, there's some neat feature that we want to go study. We turn the boat around and track that feature for a while. So here we are in the helm of the Miss Caroline. She's powered by a 1,000 horsepower C18 Caterpillar. She carries about 500 gallons of fuel in 2 250-gallon tanks underneath the back deck. She cruises at about 17 knots and burns about 27 gallons an hour when we're running. The nice thing about her is she cruises at about 6 knots and burns less than a gallon an hour at idle. So when we're surveying, she's very, very efficient. In the helm, we have what's typical of a research vessel, plotters and sounders, just for looking at the bottom and looking at where we're going and maps and things like that. But we also have some features that are atypical. We have an IMU that measures the motion of the vessel so that we can remove that from the measurements that we're making of the currents with the ADCPs. And we also have a vector hemisphere that is a differential GPS that's local to the boat. So we have very accurate information about the heading and speed of the vessel so that we can remove that from the measurements that we're making. Another unique capability of the vessel is this server rack. So this rack holds 2 data servers and also the unit that powers the acoustic Doppler current profiler. And so what this does is it records all the measurements that we're making as we drive the boat around, and when we get back to the dock, it has a wireless link up to CSI's internet, and it uploads all of that information to a secure server. So I pointed out to all of you a bunch of the unique features of the Miss Caroline and why she's such a special vessel for the Coastal Studies Institute. Fairly unique, the small package that does big things, and we really appreciate your attention and your interest in what we do at the Coastal Studies Institute.